Hi everyone, loving the history of the Roman ancient empire, of the ancient Roman empire. We will talk about the camp, how the camp was built, discovering one of the most important signs of the power and engineering ability of the ancient Romans. We will see the construction of a camp, the requirements and whatsoever. One of the invariable habits of the Romans was to have a rigid daily routine. Every night after marching all day, the legionaries built a trench to fortify their camp. And this was really a huge trench, how we will see in the next images. An ancient historian, Polybio, in English Polybius, explains in detail the way in which these military camps were built. When the consular army was nearing the end of the march, one of the military tribunes and the centurions who formed the surveillance team were sent ahead to choose the place for the camp. And I said before at the beginning there are a lot of requirements that we need to say a camp can be built, yes or no. The camp, the new one, had to be opened, if possible, on a sloping terrain and without shelters that could be exploited by the enemies. The camp covered an area of about 4 plethra. 4 plethra, there were a lot of ancient Roman measurements. 4 plethras are 700 square meters. The consul stand was positioned at the point from which there was the maximum visibility, and on side, when a white and on the side a white flag was placed, and the red flag was placed to indicate the closest point to the water. Here the legions and the wings camped. The supply wagon was placed behind the line of the bastion, in Italian bastione. There are a lot of similarities, bastione and bastions, because a lot of English words have the same roots like the English ones, because we have the Roman Empire was also in Great Britain, and because of this we have a lot of similarities. The wagon was placed behind the line of the bastion, and the rest of the troops began to dig. The deeper they dug, the better it was. The ditch was 9 Roman feet deep and 12 feet wide. The debris was piled up on the inside to create a bastion covered with grass 4 feet high. 4 feet high. During the march, each soldier carried a bundle of sharpened poles, usually made from solid branches. These poles were planted close to one another, to each other on the top of the bastion to form a palisade, palizzata in Italian. As the work progressed, the heavy infantry was gradually withdrawn from the battle line, manipole by manipole, working, every time working, non-stop. Because of the enemies, they were waiting behind the trenches. But it was difficult to invade because the Roman Empire, the Roman legions were really heavily equipped, were good equipped with everything. Starting with Triari, they are defined soldiers. Triari, in Italian un triario, due triari. The Triari started, and they were at the closest point to the bastion. These troops were sent to dig in one of the other sides of the camp, where the cavalry did not withdraw until the defenses facing the enemy were completed. These defenses offered protection, important protection, against surprise attacks, since the ditch and the bastion were only sufficient to hinder the attackers but not to stop them. The Romans almost never planned to fight from inside the camp because it was not something that where they were comfortable at. But they preferred to advance and clash with the enemy in the open field, the open terrain, how we said before at the starting of the video, of the presentation. Between the bastion and the first line of tents of the camp there was a distance of 200 Roman feet. This area was also called the vellum, the intervellum, and served to prevent the tents from being from attacks from the outside. Yes, something that could be thrown from the outside into the camp. 200 Roman feet. The camp was a highly organized and efficient structure with the legions divided into lines and maniples. It was always built following the same model. There were 4 entrances. The first one, Porta Praetoria, Principali Dextra, Decumana, and Principalis Sinistra. Dextra in Italian destra, right, sinistra, left in English. And there were 2 main streets, Via Principalis and Via Praetoria, which intersected at right angles in the central point where the tents of the commanders were concentrated. So the commanders, the most important people, the most important soldiers, in Italian we could say ufficiali, comandanti, where they were at the center of the camp. Inside the camp everything was regulated by the placement of the tents and the baggage of each unit to the tasks carried out by the various contingents, so that, for example, the triarii, we said it at the beginning, the triarii guarded the horses. The officers divided among themselves rigidly the responsibilities for the coordination of the sentries and the pickets. We will talk in another video about sentries and pickets around the camp and for the transmission of orders for the march of the following day. This marvel of Roman engineering will characterize the entire army of its 1,000-year history. And it has been calculated that the smallest camps could cover already 16 hectares up to the legendary fortress of the Mammoth enterprises that could fill up to 50 hectares. Thanks for your attention. If you enjoyed the video, you can subscribe to my channel. My channel is here. You will see it. I will link here. It's also another link in my biography, in my description below this presentation. We can grow, we can get bigger if you subscribe, if you also could give a like to this video, to this presentation. I am in love with the Roman history. I hope you too, and stay tuned till next time. Arrivederci.